Welcome to my power earnings gap video. This is for the prior week. We had so many stocks breaking out of bases with, above 10% change of price with more than 100% above average daily volume. You can see this is AppLovin. On Thursday, moved 12% with 265% above average daily volume, broke above that 429 pivot point there. And on Friday, powered 4% higher on strong volume again. So AppLovin is in demand. If you want to take a look at this on the weekly. Yeah, this thing has been consolidating since December. Okay, it was at 417, went through that, like most stocks, went through the tariff correction or the tariff bear market, and then has rallied since, formed this little cup-shaped pattern for 8 weeks. You can see there, then broke out last week. So for me, this is one of the quality names that I'm observing. Yeah, I did buy it, so I do own this one. That's why I'm showing it first. I'm biased, but it was up 21% or 20% last week. I think it's going higher, and that's why I'm leading off with the AppLovin. The 525.15 will, eventually be revisited at some point, I believe. So, yeah, big volume coming in. Nice breakout from a base. You can see it was trading tight within the base ahead of the print. And then, it kind of reversed lower after hours and then took off as soon as the market opened on Thursday, which is this day here. Yeah, did the little okey doke right at the open. Yeah, traded down to what? Whoa, 385, man. Then just blasted higher up to 450. Well, I didn't know it traded that low on Thursday. My goodness, what a steal. And then just blasted higher. Yeah, and then on Friday, like I said, followed through to the upside. And that's what you want to see, the gap and go. Now you still have to mind that 5 EMA, the green line here, because it's not going to get away from it too far. Right now it's, 8.6% above it, and it'll, even if it goes up the next few days, it'll give that line a chance to catch up, but it's moving very fast. You can see the 5 EMA. On Wednesday it was 383, Thursday 401, that's $17 change, and then Friday it was 419, so an $18 move. So, on Friday it was 419, call it 420. Tomorrow it could be like 440. So that line's moving very fast. And if it just pulls back one day and catches up, that could be an area where, if you didn't own it, maybe you could buy it on a pullback. All right. Outstanding move for AppLovin. We're loving it. And the next one is ALAB. This one you got to look at the weekly chart. IPO, right? Had this big moves, a big darling in 2024, and then it sold off and corrected, and stocks will do that. Sliced its 40-week line here, traded below there for a long, long time. But then once we got liberated, this thing's been on a heater. Go back to April 4th here, it was down to 47. Yeah, and April 7th, 48. Yeah, and we put this on our ready list around this 100 level here. And if you didn't get it, then this is why you got to watch these things. I forget the reason why it moved. Some deal was announced or something, but it moved hard, out of that little consolidation area and gapped higher on this date right here. So this is why we monitor these things. Yeah, it went up by 19% on a big volume there. Then it pulled back. See, that's what I'm talking about here. The next day, pulled back to the 5 and bounced. And then, once it got a little bit ahead of the 5 here, 3.5%, it pulled back the next day below the 5 and then bounced again ahead of the print. And then on the print, it ran 29%. Had an inside day on Thursday and popped again on Friday. I think 200 is a magnet for this stock. But that's why you monitor these gaps higher. These are the ones that institutions are buying. And like I said, the thought process behind it is, the institutions don't buy all at once. And if there are, it could be short covering as well when you make a move like that. 20% move here and a 29% move here. There's some shorts getting out of there, but institutional footprints as well. Yeah, you can see these big blue bars here. And this one, making new highs. Like I said, 200 is not just only $20 from here, so not a big move for ALAB. Outstanding. This is what driving these earnings, right? These powerful earnings. So when you hear people say earnings don't matter, yeah, they do. I know stocks trade on technicals and on news. Headline news is what the algos trade, but earnings matter, folks. Earnings matter, and that's why we follow these names. So AppLovin and ALAB, fantastic. This is the old Russian Yandex, Nebius Group. They reported once again 322% sales growth. Not bad. And it was up 19% on Thursday following that earnings report. Once again, had this little sideways action ahead of the print here, a little bit of caution, just a little bit of if you will, a Darvis box type of action, and then it broke out. So yeah, Darvis would be buying that. It broke out earlier, and this is why you got to, monitor these things because stocks that move like that, 18% back on June 5th, they tend to do that, like just like they do on the way down, they gap down, these gaps up. They just don't happen once. They often happen over and over, and stocks that make new highs continue to make new highs. But this is another one that I'm monitoring. My third stock is NBIS is the ticker symbol, up 19% on Thursday with over 200% above average daily volume. I know it's way ahead of that green line, the 5 EMA. It's 12% ahead of the 5. So it'll probably pull back or just go sideways for a couple days, allowing that line to catch up. But very strong move and one that we are monitoring at mcstockcharts.com. All right, Arista Networks. Ooh, I like the cool green. I only do that because I put a lot of stocks on my desktop at once so I can identify them. I change the color. So that's the only reason. There's no significance behind that. Arista Networks was up 17.5% on Wednesday with 158% above average daily volume following its earnings report at computer networking. And once again, the cool blue chart. But once again, this is like that, Darvis, box type of action, right? Where it just kind of consolidated like a lot of stocks did, right? During the after December, through the tariff time, March, April, and then April 7th, we got liberated, and a lot of stocks have ripped higher, just like this one here. So yeah, 133 to 59, and then it rallies up. Nice power earnings gap though there on Wednesday of last week. So we're watching this one, and this one continues to make higher lows. The rest of the networks looks super strong. And my fifth one that I want to go through here is Axon. This one just has a history of, strong earnings, and this is why it looks like this forever. This thing's not going up because people like it. It's going up because it's got strong earnings report quarter after quarter, year after year. They deliver the goods because they're always coming out with new products, and they've got military contracts and local police use their equipment. Once again, this kind of box type of action ahead of the earnings report. Little pullback, a little caution. You got to be cautious ahead of earnings because I'm not showing you the ones that have been absolutely destroyed. I'm not going to do that to you. But it ran up on Tuesday, 16.5%. Went sideways. That's what I'm talking about. Pullback on Friday, 3% to its 5. It closed just a tick above its 5. To me, that's probably going to be a buy point there, around that 8:30. If it comes back to 8:30, it's go time, but it might just open up Monday and bounce higher. That thing looks like it wants higher prices. Axon, yeah, nice move. Laser, LASR, it's not laser, it's Inlight. LASR is the ticker symbol. Gap tire back here on the 9th made this like a high tight flag type of pattern on the weekly. You could see this here. And these patterns have been working, folks. When you get this pole and then you get this little, flag pattern, we've seen a lot of these working. And this one was up 30% last week. On Friday, it was up 28%. It's alone. So that was the bulk of the heavy lifting there on Friday. So I wanted to monitor this week, see if it can allow that 5 EMA to, catch up a little bit, maybe an inside day or two before moving higher. But what's driving it? Strong earnings once again. So yeah, earnings matter. All right, the next one I want to go through is PSIX. This is not one that not talked about much at all. Once again, it's got that similar, this flag type of for one week anyway, this pole, and it just kind of flags out. for a week or two or three, and then rips higher and on earnings. It was up, yeah, 14% on Friday, closed near the lows of the session, or at least in the lower half of the daily range, 20% of the daily range. But yeah, we'll watch for this one next week. Maybe it's going to have a little trouble with that 100 level. But once again, you're seeing this accelerating sales growth. I say this all the time. People get sick of me saying it. Accelerating sales growth, accelerating earnings growth, and oh, by the way, the stock's going higher. So maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. Who knows? I saw some really strong earnings report sell off too, so it's not an automatic, but yeah. Power Solutions, PSIX. Okay, I've got to do this. One drug stock that broke out that you got I like this technical traders, got to love this type of action because it broke out of a base, broke through its pivot point with power, and that's power through the pivot for RIGL. RIGL is going to wiggle right through its pivot point, 23% move, 800% above average daily volume. So you think it's going to pull back the next day? On Thursday, it was up 2%. On Friday, more than 4%. Man, that thing is a thing of beauty right there. Look at that powerful breakout. You got that blue dot, the RS line heading due north. Earnings going up. Yeah. So, stocks following that earnings, and you see these increased sales. So maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. When you go from, 61 to 81% to 176% sales growth, that's going to move the stock. Usually, I don't know. I saw some triple-digit sales growth being sold off last week, which was a head scratcher. There are some other drug stocks, but I'm not going to include them because I just got to move on to. I don't want to have too many in the same group. I do have a medical product stock. This is a IPO hinge. Very strong move following earnings on Wednesday and just had an inside day on Thursday, which is what you want to see. And then pulled back to its 26% move on Wednesday, inside day on Thursday, allowing that moving average to catch up a little bit. It was 11%, right? Well, on Wednesday, it was 17.8% above the five. On Thursday, it was 11% above the five. On Friday, it pulled back to the five and bounced slightly, 2.8%. So I wouldn't be surprised to see this thing bounce next week. If we take a look at the weekly, this is just a fresh IPO here where it broke out of this IPO base and then pulled back for like 3 weeks ahead of the print. Last week was up 26%. So definitely one to watch there. And it's volatile. I mean, just on a pullback day, it was down 6%. So that's tough to take, a 6% move to the downside, but that's what IPOs do. They move a lot, most of them. All right, this is Sterling Infrastructure, one of the stronger names in the market for the last couple of years, I would say, at least, for a long time here, since the bear market of 2022, this thing's just been an absolute beast. And you could see it kind of broke above this, I guess you'd call it, like a Darvas box. After the Liberation Day, it reversed higher, made this kind of like box, and then broke out of that. And it's been running for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks. Ahead of the print, it stalled, and then last week, boom, 15% move for Sterling Infrastructure. Once again, it made this move on earnings. It bounced off the 21 and it ran up, what, 9%, then went sideways. Just okay. So that's a good question. I'm making up my own questions. It didn't move 10%, right? Because my requirement is that it moves 10% with more than 100% above average daily volume. Well, in spirit, this is a breakout. It wasn't 10%, it was only nine and change. But this stock is so strong and this group is so strong. I just think you got to acknowledge it here. And instead of pulling back to its five, it's just going sideways. So it's kind of correcting through time and not price, right? And allowing that five to catch up. And Friday it closed 3.1% above the five. So another stock you need to watch for next week. If it does a little, pull back and go, I wouldn't surprise me at all. So watch out for that little okey doke if you want to get long STRL, which I think is a good idea. XMTR, this is Big move, power through the pivot. Once again, look at that volume here. But then it sold off 3 days in a row. This thing sucks, right? No. Yeah, it moved 42%, 43% on Tuesday, had an inside day on Wednesday, and then pull back a little further on Thursday, 2%, and then on Friday, 3%, just allowing that five to catch up. I mean, when you move 42%, 43%, you got to expect there's to be some profit taking. There is some overhead supply here. But that 37.72 buy point, it just blew through that like poop through a goose, man. Whoa, man. Look at this. Look at this earnings line. I mean, just straight, nearly, lower left to upper right. You got to expect the stock to go lower left to upper right. So it's got the blue dot, the RS line heading due north, and earnings matter, like I said. So, yeah, triple digit earnings growth. Turning from a money losing company to a profitable company. That's when companies usually get their most stock appreciation. All right, I think that's 10. Whoop, that's 11. All right. So that's 11. I gave you a bonus one. I wanted to go back to prior breakouts and see how they're doing. And this is Reddit, which broke out of this little consolidation pattern on its earnings report. I forget the day it was, but yeah, that was a good one for us. August 1st, which was the Friday. So they reported Thursday and gapped higher Friday. And that daily range was what, 177 to 196. And last week it just blew through 200 and closed at 215. You could see that breakout and then follow through these nice hammer candles there with the close, top 10% of the weekly range. That's pretty decent move for Reddit. So we're just following up on these stocks. I think Reddit wants to go higher. I think it's going to take out that 230. Once again, not to sound like a broken record, but you got 68% sales growth and 61 and 78. And this is going from a company losing money to a profitable company here, going to earn more than $3 next year, growing it, it's growing like a weed. One of the top AI stocks, Reddit. All right, so that was nice. Follow through the glowworm GLW. This is my go-go 1990s stock. Broke out of the base, power through the pivot big time for glowworm. This one, whew, look at that, 12% move, 261% above average daily volume. And this one climbed higher the next couple of days, then pulled back to the five, and that's your chance, right? The one day, it pulled back to what, 61, and now closed Friday at 67. Excuse me, 65. There it is, the breakout and the follow through, man, up 6% last week after a 12% move. So, and glowworm wants higher prices. It sees the light. And the last one, and I'll close out this video on Comfort Systems Fix. This is an HVAC, kind of the AI, excuse me, data center build out. This one has a 3 weeks tight pattern here. So you can see it kind of has a habit of doing that. 3 weeks tight, runs up, 3 weeks tight, runs up. Runs up the flagpole here, makes just a little pennant type pattern here for 3 weeks, and it's 3 weeks tight. That's an add-on buy point. I'm not suggesting to buy. You can do whatever you want. But I sold this stock at 250, and I've never gotten over that. So maybe I'll buy it back here as it creates this little flag. We've seen these flag patterns work a lot recently. Speaking of which, this is MP Materials. This one's got the same type of profile, right? That's runs up, forms this pole, and then flags out for a couple of weeks. I don't think that was 3 weeks tight, but it looks pretty close. And then last week busted up 17% move the following its earnings report. So, yeah, you got to watch those high type flags. There are additional add-on buy points, but the power earnings gaps are working, which tells you we're in a strong market. A lot of times when we're in a sideways market, they won't gap and go. They'll gap and crap or go sideways. And in a bear market, they'll definitely gap and crap. So you want to avoid bear market breakouts. But that's not the case right now. It's all systems go. And that's why I'm making these videos and monitoring these stocks. And I think a lot of them want higher prices. They're not all going to do well. Some of them are going to fail. I do have to show you a couple that didn't do so well. Carvana, This one gapped up, then pulled back. It's afraid of heights and wants to join the diving team, pulling back to the 21. So yeah, I mean, not all of them are going to just rip higher. Gosh, there's a lot of them on here. If you will bear with me a minute. Um, BWXT was one that I was watching as well. Yeah, making that little flag type pattern there. IDXX. Yep. Let's see what this looks like on the weekly. Yeah, just what should you call it? It's on an island, right? This is an island stock. So a lot, like I said, a lot of them are working. PRIM. This is in the same within Sterling infrastructure. Let's take a look at this on the weekly. Man, this is a power move higher, 22%. Um, yeah. So I did say there are a couple of drug stocks. These are the ones that I'm looking at. SUPN. Yeah, that's their nice pennant pattern after the gap higher, and then RNA. Gap higher and then pull back, allowing the 50 to catch up. So, yeah, there's a lot of them that I like. Hey, you might as well go to Bros, one of my stocks that I'm holding. Gap higher, then pull back to the 50 on a lighter volume. But, this chart's a mess, man. This is one of the messiest charts that I could find. Look at this, just nothing but selling. And then, oh, we get earnings. Yeah, okay. Earnings line just heading due north. I don't know what's going on. They're only in 18 or 19 states. I think they just opened their 19th state. So once they get to New York and the people on Wall Street see what they're doing, they might give them a little bit more love. ATEC. This is another one that I'm watching. Yeah, I know. It was a $10 stock not long ago, but now it's a $15 stock. And Gap Tire, this is 2 weeks ago. And then last week still, went higher. Yeah, 2 weeks ago on Friday the 1st, it was up 30%. And then last week still rallied another 8%. So yeah, gap up through the pivot, power through the pivot, and rallies another 8%. There's just a lot of them, and I'm not going to get to them all. But Lemonade's another one that I'm watching. Look at this power. I'd like to see it get above this level right here. Lemonade 53.85 would be, my trigger, get rid of all that overhead supply. But another one, there's just a lot of them. I'm going to stop there because there's just a lot of them and I don't want to do this. Except for I lied. BLBD. This is the electric buses, right? These yeah, they had earnings and they're still within the base here. So yeah, it broke out from that consolidation, but it's still, near a standard buy point there of a 59.40, call it $60. So yeah, just a lot of them. I am going to stop there. Thank you for watching at mcstockcharts.com. We never give up. See you Monday.